Bombs at our southern border now. First on Fox Business, U.S. Customs and Border Protection sharing an internal memo with us warning that Border Patrol agents to be on the lookout for explosive devices after the Mexican military seized 10 IEDs at our southern border. Tied to the cartel turf war. A person was also arrested on the U.S. side, armed with a loaded AK-47, 2 magazines, and a handgun. This as thousands of migrants are set to overwhelm Eagle Pass, Texas in the coming days. Droves of people are hitching rides on freight trains. We already saw migrant encounters top 11,000 in a single day this Wednesday, 12,000 in a single day a week before. Pressure is mounting for the president to take action. Biden is now signaling that he's open to a new border expulsion law and increased deportations, a move that congressional Hispanic Democrats are actually slamming as shameful.
Republicans continue to hold funding for America's allies hostage at the expense of migrants.
What's on the table is to further create chaos on the border.
Title 42 on steroids.
Meanwhile, Senator Bob Menendez accusing the White House of selling out migrants to placate extreme Republicans, saying that it's the GOP that's jeopardizing the U.S.'s national security. Here now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, great to see you. Thanks very much for joining us this weekend.
Maria, great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Can you assess the border? You've been there plenty, and now we're worried about bombs at the southern border, which the Mexican cartels apparently have.
Our southern border is an absolute disaster. I spend a lot of time there, and it has never been remotely as bad as it is right now. And I have to say, especially with the war waging in Israel and in Gaza, the risk of a terrorist attack today, Maria, I think is higher than it has been any time since September 11th. And this administration, the Biden White House and the Democrats in Congress, they do not care. They're looking the other way. I can tell you I was down on the southern border about 5 weeks ago. I went out on midnight patrol with the Border Patrol agents. The Border Patrol agents are deeply concerned about Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists coming across our southern border. And with Joe Biden and the Democrats, it's wide open. It is an invitation to come and commit acts of terror. And we're vulnerable because of this administration's policies.
Well, I mean, why? Do you have any idea why this administration and the Democrats are okay with a wide open border, even though we know the national security risks that this involves?
Well, I think it's really three things. Number one, what has happened in today's Democrat Party is they are captive to the extreme left, the radical left, the squad. Donald Trump broke the Democrat Party. He shattered their brains. And it's right now, it's the Bernie Sanders, the Elizabeth Warrens, the AOCs who are driving the agenda. And when it comes to the border, it's the radical open borders crowd that believes it is wrong to have a border. Some of those nuts believe America shouldn't exist, that our existence is fundamentally illegitimate. That's number one. Number two, this is an administration that is all politics all the time. When it comes to national security, they don't care about national security. Look at the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was entirely a political operation because they wanted a press release on September 11th rather than to protect Americans overseas, rather than to protect our servicemen and women. And number three, there are a lot of cynical Democrats who look at the 9.6 million illegal immigrants who've come across under Joe Biden, and they just see future Democrats. And so they're willing to look the other way at the dead bodies day after day after day. Every day we have dead bodies on Texas farms and ranches of migrants who died being trafficked in. Every day the Democrats are willing to look the other way at the little children who are brutalized by traffickers. Every day they're willing to look the other way at the women who are violently and viciously sexually assaulted. And you know what none of them do? None of them go see what's happening. When I go down to the border, I typically bring senators with me. I bring Republicans with me. We go out on midnight patrol. They see it. When you see, when I last brought 4 other senators down there, we're out there, we encountered a group of women and children. You see little children who have been viciously assaulted. You see that every time you go. You know what? Bob Menendez isn't down at the border. None of the Democrats are down at the border. Joe Biden isn't down on the border. Kamala Harris isn't down on the border because they don't want to see it. They can't see it. And more importantly, their strategy is based on the corporate media ignoring it. As you know, Maria, I have a brand new book that just came out called Unwoke: How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. It's a bestseller, and Unwoke breaks down how the radical left took over every major institution in America. If you look at journalism, why do the Democrats have this open border policy? Because they're counting on CNN and MSNBC and ABC, NBC, CBS to utterly ignore the border. Nothing to see there. That's why Joe Biden doesn't go down, because if he came down, the TV cameras would come with him. And it is because of our corrupt and lying media that the Democrats have been driven to these radical policy positions.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the media, and you write so eloquently about the media in your new book, because this is important. This is why they can get away with completely ignoring this dereliction of duty. So from the dereliction of duty to the ineptitude on policy to potential corruption, this is what's behind this impeachment inquiry. And we saw the inquiry into President Biden formalized this week. Republicans appear to be moving to hold Hunter Biden in contempt for skipping out on his deposition. Here's Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and how he responded to all of this. Watch.
House Republicans are wasting time on a clown car impeachment inquiry that will get nowhere. The House Republican impeachment inquiry is the definition of unserious.
Do you agree with that? Is this going nowhere?
Well, I will admit that Chuck Schumer is an expert on clown cars, and he knows a lot about them, and he led two utterly frivolous impeachments into Donald Trump. But no, you know, this is the Democrats that want to cover up evidence and simply lie about it. What they keep screaming is no evidence, no evidence, no evidence. You know why? Because they won't acknowledge any of the evidence. But it is valuable to move forward, because remember here, this inquiry is not about Hunter Biden. It's about Joe Biden. It's about the evidence that Joe Biden is corrupt, that he solicited and received bribes from foreign oligarchs, from Ukraine, from Russia, from communist China. And the Democrats do not care. They want to cover it up because, as I said before, as with the border, it's all politics for them. Whether or not the President of the United States is guilty of soliciting and receiving millions of dollars of bribes, there is not even one Democrat in the entire Senate who cares, because they stand with him no matter what, because it's party over country for today's Democrat Party.
This is just incredibly stunning, and we so appreciate your leadership on all of it, Senator. Thanks very much. Congrats on the latest book. Texas Senator Ted Cruz, member of Senate Judiciary and Foreign Relations. Thank you, sir. We will catch up soon, Ted
Thanks,
Cruz.
Maria.